Alright, we're back over at the church today to try out the photo function on the camera. Done a couple of photos on the way over here, and yeah, they look okay. But obviously with limitations on something like this. But anyway, today I'm going to be going into the manual settings and using a slow shutter speed. The idea of that is I want to see if I can get some ghostly images of myself, which I've done before with the more expensive cameras and that, and they come up pretty good. I'll be using a tripod, as I say, going into the manual settings, knocking the shutter speeds down between 1 and 2 seconds, playing around with the ISO a little bit for the lighting, and using the timer function, countdown, and then I'll just be using my own body movement to create the image. No AI involved, nothing like that. It's just basically just using the camera functions and the camera settings. Maybe a bit of cropping on the photos afterwards, but that's it. But as I say, we're just going to see what this little thing can do on the manual settings on the photos. And just for effect today, we're going to be shooting in black and white, going into the manual settings, coming off a standard, scrolling down and going on to Leica black and white. I think it's high contrast, but it's black and white anyway, so that's what I want just for effect. This whole thing here is in a memory of a guy who died in 1733. Now onto the photos. Okay, so we tried the Insta 360 Ace Pro 2 out on some photos. Now I think the ghostly images in the church actually came out quite good, really, in my opinion. A bit unusual, but that's the idea of it. And the limitations, well, it's endless what you can do with this, because you've got the shutter to muck around with in manual settings, you've got the ISO, there's all sorts of imaginary things you could come up with, isn't there, you know. But to say this, the way it's put about sometimes on YouTube by some of these reviewers is that, you know, this can replace a camera and all that, and it's not going to replace my Pentax, that's for sure. No way. It's not even going to replace the Fuji or the Nikon, to be honest with you. This has got limitations. One of them is the aperture, that's fixed at 2.6. Focusing is another thing. Exposure compensation in manual, you haven't got, so I suppose the way you've got to look at it, it's a great add-on for me. It adds to a collection. I don't think it replaces it, apart from the fact it is a bit lighter and it's easier to, But apart from that, no. If you was thinking about going out and buying a camera because you want to learn photography, you can do a lot better than this. I mean, if you add on all the lenses that you can get for this now, and even though this camera's come down in price recently, add on all the extra lenses and all the bits and pieces and all that. When you look at what you're paying for, well, you could get a good little Sony compact camera for that same money, and it's going to have a lot more in the manual settings for you to play around with, and it's got to be a lot more use for you, especially with things like zoom. So, yeah, it's not the answer to everything, this, but it's a great little fun thing to have, and it's a great add-on. So, as a dedicated camera, I'd say no. But to take out for the day, just do some fun shots and some basic shots, yes. It's not going to... people make a big thing about, it's a great street camera, but you add the cage to it and all that. And the cost of it all, it's not worth it. Go and get yourself a good dedicated little camera, compact camera, even a bridge camera. Because aperture and your focusing, exposure compensation, they do matter in photography. But overall, yes, it's an add-on. And for the price, this is a great little thing. I can't knock it. So as an add-on camera to your collection, yes. But if you want a dedicated camera and you want to go out and spend some money, I'd say no. But obviously, essentially, this is an action cam, isn't it? So, I'm only reviewing it as a sort of photography camera. But yeah, that's my thoughts, and I'm glad I bought it. If I had to give a couple of examples of why this sort of thing doesn't cut it in all types of photography. For example, if you were paying for a wedding photographer for the day, which wouldn't be cheap if they were well established, with a good reputation, if they turned up with a couple of action cameras, and you wouldn't be that impressed, would you? You'd probably say, well, I could have done that myself, or could have used a smartphone, which, things like iPhones and the top range Samsungs, they're fantastic what I've seen them do with them. But anyway, but another thing is, if you look at sports events, when you look at the photographers here, you see the size of the lenses they've got for the zoom lenses, and the cameras they're using, mate. That's so I will say, you've got to be careful when a lot of the blurb, when it said this can replace this and that's going to be as good as it, it's just not. You've got to look at the price you're paying. I mean, you look at the price of a good iPhone or a good top-of-the-range Samsung, they're over £1,000. Reason for that, technology in them. As I say, I'm not slagging this off. For the price point, this is good, and the video's good, and I'm going to be using it a lot. But, you've got to get things in perspective, and, it depends what you want out of it.